So, how is everyone? How are you all? Did you have a good weekend? You are all looking fantastic on this wonderful Monday morning. And this is going to be a week of it, I believe. We have Bryan Kohberger in not one, not two, but three hearings today. I don't know what I did with my fingers there. It's Monday. Give me a break. And it's early. But look, so Bryan Kohberger, he's having his arraignment today. We also believe there's going to be conversations surrounding the continued gag order, if you can even say that a gag order exists, if Dateline and their recent article, video, hatchet job, can a gag order exist and then all of this stuff go on to a platform for public consumption? Can you really say that the gag order is doing anything? What is the gag order doing? In all fairness, what is it? Anyway, I digress. I'm not getting into that. That'll piss me right off. And then there's going to be another conversation around the motion to compel, and the prosecution turn around saying, no, look, we've given them everything. We don't need to give them anything else. What more do they want us to do? They need to do their job. We've done ours. We're not doing their job for them. So a little bit of this kind of court legal camaraderie. What a time to be doing it when you've got someone's life in the balance and the justice of four poor victims also sort of aloft there. But anyway, look, this is what I say moving forward. Obviously, I will cover anything that happens through the court. As soon as information comes out about the arraignment itself and these other things, I will, of course, report on that. But what does this situation look like moving forward? Well, look, Bryan Kohberger could either walk in there today and say, guilty, 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 guilty. And what I would say is, if all of this stuff that is coming out is true, so if he's given information that would say, look, we know that you broke into this person's property previously and you installed cameras and you had her under surveillance. We know that, we've got proof of it, and we're going to bring that forward. We also know that you was in the area beyond a reasonable doubt, and we can prove it because we've got this, 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 and this. We also know that you were stalking these people on social media. We've got such and such evidence that proves that you was messaging them, that you would this, that, and the other. Do you know what I mean? But there is a digital footprint that takes away anyone's ability to say, no, I didn't know him, I don't know what you're talking about. We've also got pictures of you on camera in the area, and we've got proof that you was here this night. We also know that you was in the house. You hadn't been in there previously in order to explain away the knife sheath. So we have this sheath with your DNA on it, and we also know that that knife sheath belongs to the knife that was used in this crime. We can prove all that. We're bringing it to you. And we also know that there's other stuff in the background that makes you look even more nefarious. If he's given all of that information, could he turn around and think, I'm fucked, I'm pleading guilty and saving my neck? Could he do that? Yes, he could. Is he likely to do that? No, because I don't think that they have that information. I don't think that they have been given information that would 100% give someone the ability to look at it and say, do you know what? I'm fucked here. And I don't think that his defence team have seen anything that they can turn around and say, look, there's nowhere where we can go with this. There's nothing we can do. This is now about trying to save your life, and that's the best that we can do. I don't believe that has happened. Now, we've obviously seen a lot of information come out. Like I said at the beginning, this gag order that supposedly exists, but we're seeing people coming out all the time, constantly saying that this source has said this source has said that, and some of that stuff is incredibly damning, and it has led to, obviously, a movement of people that are 100% convinced that Bryan Kohberger is indeed guilty. And who wouldn't, if you are forced to look and ingest all of that stuff, but then you don't question where it comes from. You just take it as it's given to you and perceive that as factual evidence to support something that you yourself thought was the case. Do you know what I mean? You thought Bryan Kohberger was guilty, and this evidence that's been placed before you just proves it. But what you've got to consider is that for this to be a fair trial, the jury has to be completely unbiased, to have no preconceived idea of who Bryan Kohberger is, what happened in this crime. A blank slate. That's the only way that this can be fair, to have a completely blank slate walking into this room, and all these people know about is, this is Bryan, this is what happened, did this guy do it based on this information that we're placing before you? And did he do it beyond a reasonable doubt? Now, what does reasonable doubt look like in this case? Because I feel that there are three very important factors that are going to be utilised to say that, look, he did this. And there may be others, but what I'm trying to do is get away from the hearsay, the speculation, the conjecture, the embellishment of the likes of News Nation and Dateline and all that. I'm just looking at what we have seen via the court documentation, and that is the knife sheath. Now, obviously, they are saying that there was a leather knife sheath found next to one of the victims of this crime. And this happened to have trace DNA, and we're talking about, I believe it was 4 tiny pieces of DNA that they're saying could have fitted on the head of a pin. So very, very tiny. Now, would it be beyond reasonable doubt that Bryan Kohberger could have had something in there, a knife sheath that belonged to him or was touched by him, if Bryan Kohberger can prove that he had frequented this property previously? And if his exculpatory evidence that brings forward would prove that he had frequented this property, and he could explain the knife sheath being there. Let's not also forget that the prosecution would have to prove that that knife sheath belonged to the murder weapon. That has to be a match. Now, I'm sure that that could be done scientifically, because they can look at the dimensions of it and they'll be able to ascertain the dimensions of the weapon that was used in the crime. But if they do not match, there lies a huge problem. And we have heard that there's a potential that they will not be using that knife sheath. Now, is that why? Is it because they know not only that there could be an argument surrounding how the DNA was obtained, and they felt that that was an unnecessary argument, but do they know that it didn't belong to the murder weapon? Is that what the problem with the knife sheath is? But anyway, I digress. The other issue that you have is the phone pings, to turn his phone off and to hide where he was on that night. Now, is it beyond reasonable doubt to say that he could have just turned his phone off and that was a huge coincidence? That's the biggest problem when you have a situation that says, look, on X night, he turned his phone off, and that just happened to coincide with these 4 people being massacred. And then you pair that with the third piece, and that is a car that would appear to be a white Hyundai Elantra. I'm not going to go into the nitty-gritty of that, but ultimately that is then seen speeding away from the victim's home. So when you pair those two elements, phone being turned off in order to conceal location, and then you failing to conceal your location because you're then in essence caught on camera, what is the reasonable doubt there? That's when you have to then start digging into, is it beyond reasonable doubt to believe that that is not his car? If he is not seen on camera, and they can say, well, there's 90 other white Hyundai Elantras in that area, is it not beyond reasonable doubt that somebody else could have been driving a white Hyundai Elantra at pace at that time of the night and it's coincidental. It's completely coincidental. And you're just then making these things fit because he happens to drive this. Could it then be argued, why would he take his phone unless he needs his phone? If he's got to conceal his identity, and I've covered this time and time again, would he have taken his phone if ultimately that phone is going to be the thing that hangs him? Would he not have known that? And again, is that some kind of argument that they could use to instill reasonable doubt into the jury? When you are told, look, we're talking about someone who is highly educated in this field. He is working towards a doctorate in criminology. He holds a PhD. He holds, or he's working towards his PhD. He's got a degree in criminology, a master's, whatever it is. He knows everything there is to know about this situation, and we're supposed to be led to believe that this guy left his property one night, took his phone, which would have been a huge mistake, drove his own car, got caught on camera, so on and so forth. Why would this guy do it? And again, I'm just playing that out to see how you receive that. Obviously, those who have him banged to rights will think, well, no, he's banged to rights and I've seen enough other stuff to convict him. But imagine someone with a completely blank slate, and then they start dropping things in like evidence withholding from the police force that was investigating this, the Brady Giglio stuff in the background. Things can start going in a certain direction. And look, at the end of the day, we've just got to hope that regardless of everything else that's happened, all of this stuff that's been going on in the background, despite the gag order, that Bryan Kohberger walks into a room and it's a blank slate and they can both have their day, and that's all we can hope for. Because it ain't about people wanting him to be proven innocent. It's not about that. I've never wanted him to be proven innocent if he's guilty. I want him to be proven guilty if he's guilty. I don't want him to be proven guilty if he's not. Or if he was the driver and someone else entered into that property. Or that he was instructed to do something by someone else and it then leaves people in danger in Moscow, Idaho. And this place is so hell-bent on just getting this sorted out as quickly as possible that they are willing to allow this to happen. But anyway, that's me done. I'm out of here. Later on today I'll be releasing a short video on the Summer Wells case, because I've been speaking to someone close to the family, the Wells family, and they've given me some information that I think is truly, truly damning. I'll catch you all later.